my head! I already told you! I will not be distracted from this anymore! I won't! It will take more than head games to stop me! You may have invaded my mind and my body, but there's one thing a Saiyan always keeps! His pride!
Hi guys, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I will be doing a tutorial on corrective exercise. So what is corrective exercise? Corrective exercise is a technique that leverages an understanding of anatomy, kinesiology, and biomechanics to address and fix movement compensations and imbalances to improve the overall quality of movement during workouts and in everyday life. So what it basically is, in simple terms, is it is a corrective exercise to a movement pattern that has been found to have a problem in your specific anatomy or in your specific biomechanical structure. And what this corrective exercise does is it addresses that specific imbalance in order to improve overall quality of the movement. Okay, so just to refer back on my previous video, in my previous tutorial or video we did FMS. So what basically happens is you would do the FMS, find imbalances, and then you would prescribe corrective exercise based on the imbalances that you found in order to improve that specific movement pattern. So as an assessor, you may find imbalances in any of the following movement patterns, and these were discussed in detail in the previous tutorial. So what I did was, in this tutorial, is I basically came up with solutions or with corrective exercises should you as an assessor find any imbalance in any of these movement patterns. So I tried to provide an example of corrective exercise for each of the fundamental movement screenings. The corrective exercises that I will be demonstrating in this video and verbalizing on is the calf muscle stretch against or with a wall, foam rolling, the sideline pretzel stretch, the single leg Romanian deadlift, simplified lunges, the upward facing dog. This is not an actual dog, it's just like a yoga pose. And then the cross arm stretch, the ladies tricep push-up, and then lastly the hamstring stretch and the plank with a shoulder tap. The corrective exercises that follow are specifically aimed at addressing imbalances that are found in the deep squat. So if any imbalances are found, you would do these corrective exercises. So a lot of times what happens is you would see in patients or in clients that when they go down for the deep squat, their heels elevate or their heels lift from the floor. The reason being is this can be too tight calf muscles or sometimes weak calf muscles as well. So in terms of corrective exercise, you can perform a calf stretch by basically standing against a wall. So some key points in performing the stretch would be applying pressure to the wall, as well as both feet should be kept flat on the floor, and whatever knee is in front should be extended forward as far as possible to allow for stretching of the calf muscle. The next corrective exercise that we will be looking into would be foam rolling. Now, a lot of times when people go down for the deep squat, they can't squat as deep. Okay, so the rest of their form would be basically correct. Their feet will be flat, there's no elevation of the heels, but they can't get past the parallel point in order to achieve the deep squat. Reason being can be tight gluteal or gluteal muscles or hip flexors. So what the foam rolling will do is it will alleviate some of the stress that are in those muscles, and also try to loosen the muscles up and make them more flexible for that specific movement pattern. In terms of demonstrating foam rolling, this is just one example of a foam rolling exercise. It is important that the limb that you want to alleviate stress from should be on the foam roller, and the other limb or the other lower extremity should be at a 90-degree angle. So I think I only did like 3 reps on this specific exercise. Reason being, it's a really awkward movement and position. So it was just to show you guys what the key points are and what your form should look like. So the corrective exercises that follow would be specific for any imbalances that are found in the hurdle step. Normally the imbalances that are found are in terms of holistic alignment of the body. So when you perform your hurdle step test, what sometimes happen is that you have lateral or forward and backward movement of the dowel, or your knees, your hips, and your spine are not in proper alignment with one another. So the first corrective exercise to address a situation like this would be performing a pretzel stretch. So something I didn't mention in the previous stretch demonstration is that you should try and hold the position for at least 20 seconds and perform the stretch 3 to 4 times. In terms of demonstration of the pretzel stretch, the video really speaks for itself. So key points are, as you've seen now, getting down flat on the floor and then pulling on the lower extremities is really important, with one hand below the knee and the other on the foot. So with the pulling, you are stretching your muscles of your ankles, your gluteal muscles, your hip flexors, as well as there's some stretching in your lower back as well. As you can see, I'm kind of laying in a twisted position. So yeah, those are the key points for the stretch. Another corrective exercise to address any imbalances on your hurdle step would be the single leg Romanian deadlift. So in terms of form, what is important would be reaching down to the floor as far as possible, and the leg that is at the back should be also be lifted as high as possible and be kept straight while maintaining a neutral spine. When you are performing fundamental movement screening or functional movement screening, you would normally do an inline lunge as well. So what sometimes happen is that people are either not able to maintain their balance when performing the lunge, or they aren't able to keep the dowel in alignment with their back, and also the head is sometimes a bit forward from your dowel and not against the dowel. So mainly this would be attributed to a lack of stability as well as flexibility. In terms of prescribing corrective exercise for the inline lunge, I had to think out of the box a bit and basically apply theory to practice in order to provide a simplified solution to the embedment of your performance in the inline lunge. So as you guys can see here, what I did was I basically took a broomstick and some like normal lifting chalk that I use in the gym to draw a straight line, and this straight line would then represent the platform on which you would originally be performing the screening movement. So this platform would be a plank or the FMS screening tool. What I used in my previous video was a rafter, a plank, 114 by 38. So yeah, then in terms of performing the lunge, you can put the broomstick on your shoulders and then try to maintain alignment as much as possible with the line drawn on the floor, as it basically mimics or represents the movement just in a simpler form, by cancelling out the element of like balance. So yeah, it's just a simplified version of performing the screening movement. The next corrective exercise for the inline lunge would be a yoga pose known as the upward facing dog. So you would have heard me refer to the alignment of the head in relation to the dowel when you're holding the dowel against your back. So the back of your head should be basically touching the surface of the dowel. If not, it could be due to weak or to muscles of the neck that are basically tight, or weak flexibility in the shoulder muscles. So yeah, and just in terms of demonstration, this is what the yoga pose would look like. The cross arm stretch is a stretch that can be prescribed for any weaknesses that are found in terms of shoulder mobility. And in terms of performance, it's really simple. What you would do is you would cross over the arm with the body, or one of the arms with your body, depending on the shoulder that you want to stretch. That arm should be at, or should be perpendicular to your torso, and then you'd use the opposite arm to basically pull back on the elbow to allow for stretching to occur. The hamstring stretch can be performed as a corrective exercise for the active leg raise. A lot of times what happens is your leg can't be raised up high enough due to tightness of the hamstring muscles, and then obviously the stretch would reduce some of the tightness in the muscle. In terms of prescribing corrective exercise for the trunk stability push-up, the ladies' tricep push-up would be a good example. So you would get down to the floor, obviously knees together and your feet crossed at the back. Then you would want your hands to be in line with your ears, your elbows as close to the sides of your body as possible, and then you would focus on the contraction of your tricep muscle and basically apply pressure to the floor to allow your body to elevate upward, or to push your body upward. So the plank with a shoulder tap would be a good corrective exercise for the rotary stability test. Why? Because it mimics quite a lot of the characteristics that you will see in the actual rotary stability test. So for the test, you would go down to the floor, hands should be shoulder width apart. You would want to maintain a neutral spine, basically keeping your body in a push-up position or in a plank position, and then you would alternate between touching your shoulders. To make it a little more difficult, you can perform the corrective exercise by touching your shoulder and at the same time lifting one of your limbs, not like me that kind of almost fell when I did it, but it's just a suggestion. So yeah guys, that brings me to the end of my tutorial on corrective exercise. Please like my video and subscribe to my channel. If you don't like my video, just drop something in the comment section so I can know what to focus on next time.
These words, the verse, it hurts. I work, rehearse, I purge the curse. These words immerse my nerves. I slur, reverse, then work, reverse. Now I talk with intent, I talk to defend. I talk to the world and I meant what I said. I talk and I blend, a speech from a friend. It's not about the life, it's what you do before it ends.